Picking the right guitar if you're a beginner isn't easy. In this video, I want to give you my opinion on what guitars you should avoid if you're a beginner. A decent guitar can make the process of becoming a guitar player a lot easier. It's not an easy task, so let's try to not make it harder than it needs to be. These are in no particular order, but this first one is probably in my top 1 or 2 guitars to avoid, and that's guitars with Floyd Rose bridges or double locking tremolos. These are difficult enough for even the seasoned guitar players to get their head around. I know people that have been playing for 40 plus years that have no idea still how these things work. Honestly, these things will ruin your life if you don't fully understand exactly how they work and how to set them up. You've got enough to learn. You don't need to be messing around with getting the balancing act of positioning the bridge on a knife edge while setting the perfect tension of the strings and the springs on the back of the guitar. Honestly, if you're a beginner, it's not worth it. Coupled with the fact that you're a beginner, so it's likely to not be the best quality locking trem anyway, so please, trust me on this one. I love locking trems, but for now, for you, it's not worth it. Don't do it, please. Number 2 on my list is definitely going to be the most controversial one, but hear me out. Let me explain. It's a big one. Acoustic guitars. Unless you want to be doing the singer-songwriter campfire thing, and there's nothing wrong with that, don't start here. I know there's some kind of weird, unwritten law in people's minds that you must start on acoustic, but it is a lie. I have so many reasons for this, but I'll try to condense it down to just a few. Firstly, they will hurt your fingers way more than electric guitar strings will. So much more. How many people have you heard say, oh, I used to have guitar lessons, but I stopped because it hurt my fingers? I've literally heard that from dozens of people, probably way more. If something is causing you pain, you are far less likely to go and pick it up often and make progress. You'll start making excuses. Secondly, if you plug into a little amp with a bit of distortion and reverb, play a few basic riffs, Smoke on the Water, Metallica, the Sandman song, or Damn It by Blink, it's going to sound like the song. Do that on acoustic, it'll sound like a mess. You probably won't even have the finger strength to even push down the strings hard enough to make a clean note. Plus, most riffs you're learning aren't clean acoustic pieces if you're into rock and metal, so why would you do that? The point is, by sounding like the song, the more that instant gratification will keep you inspired and wanting more. The quicker that you get results, the more fun it will be, and the more you want to play. And the more you play, the better you'll get. And you see what I mean? You'll be rich. If you're enjoying my video, please consider subscribing. I make videos about guitar stuff all the time, and I'd love to have you as a subscriber. It's free and it helps me out more than I can ever explain. Thank you so much. Third on my list is silly shaped guitars. They're not silly, but different shaped guitars. They're very cool, and I love them too, especially the Explorer shape. I think that this might actually be my favourite guitar shape. But they're big, sometimes heavy, cumbersome, some would say. They generally are not very easy to sit and play with. They're awkward, and you'll be knocking your guitar all the time, trust me. I'm a bit of a hypocrite here because I actually find them really easy to play sitting down. For some reason, I always play guitar in the classical position, like on my left leg. I don't know why, but it feels so much more comfortable than what a lot of players do on their right leg like this. Left leg just makes more sense. It kind of goes into that position as you would be if you were standing up. But I do know that if you watch 90, maybe 95% of guitarists play, they rest it on their right leg. If you go and watch a load of guitar YouTubers after this video, you'll see. I know I said different shaped guitars, but just to be clear, I'm not including things like Strandbergs and that sort of thing here. Yeah, they're weird looking, but the reason they look like that is because they've been perfectly ergonomically designed for the optimal playing position. Just happens to be as ugly as I'm not going to tell you how many guitars I have, partly because I don't actually know, but I've got a lot. And you know how many of my favourite shaped guitars I've got? How many Explorers? 1. You guess why? Following on from weird shaped guitars is my 4th kind of guitar to avoid, and that is 7, 8s like this, or even 9-string guitars. 6 is going to be hard enough to get your head around, and I get it. Meshuggah, Periphery, Animals as leaders, but you're going to make it harder if you don't get the fundamentals down first with a 6-string. Once you understand standard tuning, have messed around with down tuning and drop tuning, and have a good understanding, then maybe go for one as your second guitar. The good thing is that you can often find really good used deals on 7 and 8-string guitars because so many people find them too difficult and give up on them. So maybe use that to your advantage and don't be like those people that give up. My last guitar to avoid is a bit of a weird one, but let me explain. I think you should avoid cheap guitars, and I know that's a bit unusual coming from me because I've got countless budget guitar reviews on my channel. Harley Benson, Glory, Paisley, Jet, maybe not so much Jet, they're pretty cool. Now I am talking about those kind of guitars, but I'm more so talking about the no brand Amazon guitars or AliExpress kind of guitars. The quality is going to be hit or miss, but mainly miss. Things like Harley Bensons and Faisleys are fine, but I'd recommend those kind of guitars to people that have a rough idea about guitar maintenance and basic setup skills. Playing a guitar with sharp fret ends and messed up intonation and stupidly high action is going to make learning guitar very difficult and not fun. Intonation is basically making sure that the string is in tune all the way up the fretboard, and action is the distance from the strings to the fretboard. If you're a beginner buying online with the guitar unseen, I wouldn't touch Amazon brands or something like a Harley Benson. In that case, I'd go for something like this, like a Squier, or a Jackson, or an Ibanez, or a Yamaha. It'll be in the same kind of ballpark financially, but the odds of you getting a better setup instrument are much higher in my experience. You do generally get more guitar for your money and better features by choosing something like a Harley Benson, but having a bit of experience will help you get the most out of it. If you're buying in person, then going for one of these house brand guitars could be a safe bet. In the UK, for example, Andertons have a brand called East Coast Guitars, and from what I've seen, they're really good. If you go there and buy one in person, you'll most likely be buying one off the hangers in the store. Downside is probably a load of other people have played it first, but it's much more likely to have been set up to a reasonable level and gone through some kind of quality check, and the staff will probably check it over every now and then as it's hanging up and do minor adjustments here or there. In person, you can ask them to throw in like a set of guitar strings or a strap or something, or maybe get a discount. If you've never done it before, it can seem a bit weird, but it's just the thing that we do in guitar shops. Can you imagine doing your weekly food shop or grocery shop and asking the cashier to throw in some extras for free? Probably not going to happen, but maybe we should give it a go, you never know. Buying online is probably going to come from like a warehouse, so who knows what checks have been made. It's likely that nobody's even seen it since it was boxed up in China or Indonesia or wherever it's from. Probably not the moon. Although I've played some Glaries that feel like they've been made by aliens, so maybe. And I suppose it's all well and good telling you what guitars to avoid, but what guitars should you be looking at as a beginner? Watch this video here to find out.